You will not want to miss this. We have just released the must-have report of the year, Outlook 2025, why the worst is yet to come and how to prepare. This took months in the making. It's compiled from exclusive interviews. This report isn't speculation. It's built from a series of in-depth conversations. It's unfiltered insights from the experts, everyone ranging from Dr. Ron Paul, Gerald Celente, Danielle DiMartino Booth, and so many more. You can get it at DannyOutlook2025.com. Again, that's DannyOutlook2025.com. Gold continuing to make all-time highs, inching closer to $3,000 gold. Now we're talking uncharted territory here with Todd Bubba Horwitz. Bubba.
Danny, great to be with you. Always a pleasure.
How are you? How are you amidst this gold rally, all-time highs?
Well, it should be all-time highs. You and I talked last time that we thought that we would see all-time highs, and I think we'll see 3,000 probably. Not, I don't think it'll be as soon as you think. I think you can probably look for a little bit of a pullback here in gold. We've gotten, I think, a little bit ahead of ourselves. You know, in charts, when markets start to go parabolic, normally there's going to be some sort of a pullback, but I think that'll be healthy and that will attract new money buyers. So I expect to see in 2025 gold at 3,300, probably another 10%. I think we have a lot of room to go there. And it's also giving you a message that's not going to make a lot of people happy, which is inflation is still going higher. And until President Trump finishes and tries to fix what the damage that was done in the past, we're going to have some issues here. And inflation is not coming down. And of course, the Fed continues to screw Americans as they lower the Fed fund rate to the banks. But the 10-year notes are 4.5%. So if we look at the overall picture, when they first started cutting, the 10-year was 3.5. And now the 10-year is 4.5. So the 10-year has gone up 100 basis points, and the rate that the banks are borrowing has gone down 100 basis points. So they're making 200 basis points extra money, have not passed the savings on to the consumer.
Okay, so what do you want? You agree with, so you want to see what from the Fed? You want lower rates?
I want the Fed to get the hell out. I want the Fed to disappear, and I'm hoping that Doge will go into the Fed next, because they're a worthless group of a cartel that does nothing for the American people. They tax us, they cost us money, they create higher inflation. They are so far off of their mandate of what they're supposed to be doing, which is inflation and jobs, okay, or monetary stability, which they have not created. They have created chaos and have not let the free markets trade. Interest rates, truthfully, if they would let the free market trade, would probably be 6 or 7%, which is a fair rate. You know, only those who are in their 20s now or 30s now don't realize that these rates are still a bargain at 4.5% and 5%.
So inflation to remain sticky. Your eggs and milk not getting cheaper. No,
because you've got so much debt out there that they've got to continue to keep prices high to collect the federal tax on the goods and services you buy. Okay. And you've got the consumer that is in massive amounts of debt here. I mean, we've got consumers, and these bills are just now coming due from Christmas, right? I mean, credit card debt is at ridiculous levels. Again, I'm not going to say it's at record highs because the numbers are different, but there are more people that are maxed out on credit card debt than ever before in history. And yet they're still out spending wherever they can.
Okay. Jobs were added in January. Are you optimistic the economy is headed, in a better direction now?
I think the economy is in a lot of trouble. I don't think it's in the right direction yet. I think it will be, but I think it's going to take some time and some pain for the average consumer. I think that, again, I think we'll get oil down, which will be a big boom, because if you can get crude oil prices lower, back to where they were when Trump was in office last time, which was in the 30s, okay, that cuts your cost of production, it costs your cost of driving. It brings everything down. But that's not tomorrow. That's going to be a while away, because, of course, everybody's got to re-ramp up and believe that we're going to be drilling in this country, because we have to be able to refine it and take care of it. And we're not to that point yet. But I do believe that that'll be the case in the future. But I think the average Americans, we're going to have to suffer some pain. And I still believe that we're in a recession today. for at least the middle class. Maybe not the upper class, but the upper class really never is in a recession. In fact, it gives them a better benefit to buy things that others can't buy at that time.
We're going to close in on 3 weeks of President Trump, and how much the news cycle is insane, Bubba, right? How many executive orders have been signed? Of everything you're seeing, what are you liking? What are you not liking?
Well, I like his cabinet. I like Bessent. I think he's great. I like what Elon Musk is doing. I like what they're doing with, some of the executive orders and trying to listen. They're trying to make America the powerhouse we should be. The Biden administration gave up a lot of the power that we have, and we should be. The United States could be an island. We don't need anybody else. Okay. The only thing we're short on is some of the rare earth materials, but we could get those and we could do without them. We have to come back to being the world power that people fear, okay, and not that people run over and laugh at. And I think that the deportations are great. I'm glad to see that we're trying to clean up. And it's interesting, some of these mayors and some of these governors and some of these states are trying to sue them to keep illegals. And now, why would you want illegal criminals in your city or in your state? Doesn't make sense to me. And I think that's a very big boom for the American people. And hopefully we'll bring back jobs here. We'll bring back good jobs, not the service jobs that we have, but the manufacturing jobs. Because if people recognize that they can make more money by doing our own manufacturing here, so we'll pay a little bit more for goods and services. But if you're making more money, then it's a zero-sum game, and we can continue to grow in this country and bring the power back to the United States of America.
Probably the one of the biggest headlines this week of all of them, Trump now wanting Gaza, right? First Greenland, Canada. Who would have thought now Gaza? And Resource Wars had a really good article I want to share, contemplating that perhaps the real reason he wants Gaza is for let's say it all together.
You want natural gas, baby.
There you go. The U.S. wants Russian gas out of Europe. Gaza could be the linchpin to ensure that happens. Both Israel and Gaza have massive offshore natural gas reserves. What do you think about that?
Well, I think, first of all, if we do that, which I would be happy with, it brings the power to the Gaza Strip. It takes care of the Mideast, because then we have to have troops there as well to guard our property. I think it puts the pressure on Russia to be more concerned about what the United States is doing. I think it brings the ability for us to sell a lot more liquefied natural gas from this country, because we have more oil and more natural gas in this country than any other country in the world. Okay. So we don't necessarily need their natural gas, but certainly it would bring control to the area. It would put a lot of people back in their place, which I believe is what he's trying to do. And I think that would be great for Israel. And I think it would be great for the Middle East.
Bringing it back to gold, why is that? Do you think part of the reason we're seeing this bid on gold is that there is more a geopolitical uncertainty, or what's really fueling that rally? Is this part of it, you think?
I think it might be part, but I think it's more inflation. Okay. And I also think, remember, Bessent is a big gold bug himself. Okay. He's a gold bug and a Bitcoin guy. So, and of course, with the sovereign wealth fund, these asset classes are going in. So you've got Trump who supports gold and Bitcoin, and you've got Bessent who loves gold and Bitcoin. So it's a natural that it's catching a bid, especially when you have potentially higher inflation, potentially with some uncertainty. But I think we're seeing some of the uncertainty disappear. I was concerned a year ago that the way things were going, that gold and silver might be needed as a currency. And now it's better as back to where it should be as an investment. And hopefully they'll get gold and silver back in a reasonable line where the gold is not so far over silver, where it's really been grown to be, because of course we still see a lot of pressure on silver, which is really not the correct ratio or the model. And the other big, I think, sleeper here is platinum. Platinum has started to catch a bit as well. And if you remember, platinum was over gold, and now it's a third of gold.
Sovereign wealth fund, you brought that up. Good point. What do you make of that, and what do you think they're looking to do with it?
Well, I think they're looking to grow assets. They're looking to keep things under control. Look, I think one of the things we've seen over the years is the fiat currency has become the most manipulated garbage in the world of anything, because it's all worthless. It's all the paper that it's printed on. and it's basically a race to the bottom. It doesn't help anybody. And, everybody continues to talk about, well, the dollar is too strong, so we can't export. Listen, exports are done by supply and demand. Strong dollar or not. You want to sell more? Lower your price with a stronger dollar. What's the difference? Again, a lot of things don't make sense. And I think the Sovereign Wealth Fund will bring more money into this country. I think it'll make us stronger. I think it will do a lot of things that Trump is trying to do. And I think, once again, it brings us back to, I want to be in control as the world power. And I think that's all part of it.
Getting rid of income tax. Wouldn't we love that, right? What is the likelihood that we'll see that? What do you think?
I think the likelihood of that is probably zero, that we get rid of income tax totally, unless they find another place to raise revenue. But lowering taxes, I think, can be done. Fixing the tax code. Now, this is one of the things that, another thing that doesn't make sense, right? The tax code is screwed up, which is why the billionaires and the big wealth, they pay lawyers and accountants to go through that tax code. They don't evade taxes. They just learn how to get the best break, which is what Trump did his entire life. And the key is, if you fix the tax code, then you can bring taxes down to a reasonable level, because everybody's on a fair playing field. We're not on a fair playing field now, because I don't have the money myself to go pay lawyers and accountants, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year to find me every loophole that's in that 70,000 page tax code, when it shouldn't be that way. I think we can get taxes lower. And certainly, again, I give you the best example I can. Look at the states, Texas, Florida, Nevada, and other tax-free states. They have no state tax, yet they're flourishing, those states. Look at the highest tax states where you live: New York, Illinois, and in California, always broke, always looking for money, and they can't charge you enough taxes, right? If you live in New York, 60% of your income goes to some sort of a tax, which is ridiculous.
My friends in Texas, Bubba, love to remind me that the American dream is alive and well in Texas.
Well, it's alive well in Las Vegas, where I live. Again, basically, I got a free house from moving Chicago to Vegas. The amount I save in taxes paid for a house that I have here.
Wow.
Okay? So that's, again, think about it, 13% or whatever your tax rate is in your state, you go to a tax-free state. But the real thing is the efficiency that we see in the tax-free states. They're all making money. They don't have budget shortfalls. They don't need special calls. They don't run into massive amounts of debt. They're not looking at their taxpayers to continue to pay more and more in taxes. I mean, property taxes in Illinois. My house here in Vegas is the same size as the house in Illinois. My property taxes in Las Vegas are $5,000 a year, which is too high. My taxes in Chicago were $30,000 a year. Okay. So think about that. Same house, same property, $5,000 versus $30,000. But why should I have to pay property tax on property I own anyways? But at the end of the day, think about the difference. So why do these tax states have to have such high taxes? Because they're all stealing the money and they're not spending it where it should go. They want to support illegal immigration. They want to support everybody but the people that are paying the taxes.
Well, they could replace income tax with the tariffs, which brings me up to the final point I want to get your thoughts on. What's your feeling of how this plays out? I mean, I'm sure you weren't surprised that we're going to get this, pause on tariffs between Mexico and Canada. So we have this delay. What do you think? What's your gut telling you of what happens next here, especially between Canada and the U.S.
I think Canada and the U.S. will work it out.
Nation?
I think they'll work it out. I think there won't be much of a problem there. Okay, there's been tariffs before, and I think they'll work everything out because, again, we are like nations, right? The only difference is they're socialists, we're capitalists. But at the end of the day, we're neighbors, okay? And hopefully they'll work it out with Mexico. If Mexico, again, I said this from the beginning, if both parts of our border do what they're supposed to do and take care of the drugs and the illegal immigration, I think there'll be very little tariffs, if any, okay? Now, if China, I think there'll be bigger tariffs, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy about tariffs. I don't think they have an effect. And if you go back to Trump's last administration, the farmers were very worried about the tariffs. But last time Trump was in office with tariffs, grain prices were never as high as they were then. Now grain prices are at ridiculously low prices. So the tariffs had no effect. And I think, again, if we can get enough tariffs that brings jobs back to this country, okay, that potentially brings manufacturing jobs back to this country, and wouldn't it be better to be in charge of your own destiny instead of depending on China to make your toys, to make your shoes, to make your drugs. Okay. I don't need them. I'd rather pay a few more dollars in this country, okay, and have it USA made and have it here where I'm supporting a worker here, not some oligarch in China who has the worst human rights and worst human rights in the world.
Todd Bubba Horwitz, not mincing words. Finally, is it fly Eagles or Chiefs?
I think it's Chiefs. How can you go against Patrick Mahomes? I mean, listen, I love the Eagles and I'm a fan, but how can you bet against Patrick Mahomes? I have the Chiefs.
You want to see a three-peat. You want to see the three-peat.
I do want to see a three-peat. I think it's great. Domination. Make others get better. It's like competition in business. If you keep competition, we, the consumer, get better product and everything is better. If you take away competition, then you don't have as good of a product and you pay more for it.
There you go. Todd Bubba Horwitz, folks. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Danny. I love you. You're the best.
And thank you for watching. We'll have more great content. Keep watching the Daniela Cambone Show. Sign up at danielacambone.com. And to our YouTube page, subscribe. It just helps us in so many ways if you do subscribe. So please do that. And if you, last bit of advice, we have a free report out now. Bubba, you need to download it too. Danny Outlook 2025. I love your show.
I don't miss your show. I'm a subscriber. I get everything, baby.
So Danny Outlook 2025, we compiled this report. It's free. We'll send it right to your email box. And it basically highlights everything that you should be paying attention to this year. Bubba, I think you're part of it.
I am. And everybody should check out ITM. And I'm also a customer of ITM as well. So there you go.
There you go. One big happy family. We'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching.